she enjoys to read books in her free time, or she enjoys reading books in her free time. He plans to visit his grandparents next weekend, or he plans visiting his grandparents next weekend. Which one do you think is correct? Should we use a gerund or an infinitive in these sentences? By the end of this lesson, you will definitely have the answer. Hi everyone, my name is Alisa, and in today's lesson, we are going to talk about two important forms in English, gerunds and infinitives. A gerund is the ing form of a verb like swimming or reading. An infinitive is the base form of a verb with to, like to swim or to read. Knowing when to use a gerund or an infinitive is key to making your English sound natural. Stick around and I'll show you how to use them correctly with clear examples and tips. So let's begin with a definition. What is a gerund? A gerund is the ing form of a verb that functions as a noun. It looks like a present participle, for example, like running, eating, but its role in the sentence is different. For example, swimming is fun. Swimming in this sentence is a gerund. Or, I enjoy reading books. Reading in this sentence is a gerund. Here, swimming and reading are gerunds functioning as nouns. So let's clarify more. What does it mean a gerund functions as a noun? When we say a gerund functions as a noun, it means that the ing form of the verb, so the gerund, behaves like a noun in a sentence. Just like a noun, a gerund can serve different roles, such as number 1, subject of a sentence. For example, swimming is a good exercise. In this example, swimming is the subject of the sentence, just like a noun would be. What? Swimming. Swimming is a good exercise. The second role is the object of a verb. For example, she enjoys reading. Here, reading is the object of the verb enjoys. It's acting as the thing she enjoys, just like a noun would. She enjoys doing what? She enjoys reading. Or she enjoys what? Reading. So it's an object in this sentence. And now let's clarify one more thing. What is the difference between a gerund and a present participle? A gerund functions as a noun. So we learned that a gerund functions as a noun. For example, she enjoys reading. Reading in this sentence is a gerund that functions as a noun. But a present participle functions as a part of a verb in continuous tenses. For example, she is running right now. She is running. So is running, it's present continuous tense. She is running right now. So in this sentence, running is a present participle because it functions as a part of a verb in continuous tense. In our example, it's a present continuous tense. Okay, and now, what is an infinitive? An infinitive is the base form of a verb, often preceded by to. For example, to run, to eat. I want to learn English. To learn is the infinitive in this sentence. It's important to exercise regularly. To exercise is the infinitive in this sentence. Infinitives can function as nouns, adjectives, or adverbs. So, for example, infinitive as a noun. I want to travel. In this sentence, infinitive is the object. I want what? What do I want? To travel. So it's an object. Also, infinitive as an adjective. I have a book to read. The infinitive describes the book, telling us what kind of book it is, the one to read. So I want a book to read. What kind of book do I want to read? So in here, it functions as an adjective. Also, infinitive can function as an adverb. She studied hard to pass the exam. The infinitive explains why she studied hard. That's why it functions as an adverb here. She studied hard. Why? Why did she do that? To pass the exam. So in here, it functions as an adverb. Okay, great. We clarified the definitions of a gerund and an infinitive, and now let's see when to use gerunds. First of all, we use gerunds after certain verbs. Some verbs are followed by gerunds. These include verbs that express likes, dislikes, or preferences. For example, I enjoy swimming. Enjoy is the verb, right? After this verb, we should use a gerund because this verb expresses our likes. What do I like to do? I enjoy swimming. So we should remember that after this verb, after the verb enjoy, we should use a gerund, not an infinitive. I enjoy swimming. Or he avoided talking about the issue. Avoided what? Talking. So after the verb avoid, so he didn't want to do that, right? So he kind of tried to escape. He didn't want to talk about it. So he avoided talking about the issue. After the verb avoid, we should use a gerund. He avoided talking. Or she loves dancing. She loves dancing. She loves doing what? Dancing. We should use a gerund after the verb to love. She loves dancing. These are the common verbs followed by gerunds. It means that after these verbs, we should use a gerund. So these are the verbs: enjoy, avoid, consider, mind, suggest, admit, miss, recommend, and finish. I recommend recording all these verbs and memorizing them. Also, we use gerunds after prepositions. Gerunds are used after prepositions in a sentence. For example, he is interested in learning new languages. In is a preposition. So after preposition, we should use a gerund. This is a rule. We need to memorize it. He is interested in learning new languages. Or they're good at playing basketball. At is a preposition. That's why we should use a gerund after this preposition. They're good at playing basketball. Also, gerunds can act as the subject or object in a sentence. One more time, as the subject or object in a sentence. For example, running is good for your health. In this sentence, we can see that running is the subject. What? Running is good for your health. So running is the subject. Or he hates waiting. Hates doing what? Waiting. So waiting is an object in this sentence. He hates waiting. And many phrasal verbs, a phrasal verb is a verb plus preposition, are followed by gerunds. One more time, we should use gerunds after phrasal verb. For example, they ended up canceling the event. They ended up canceling the event. Ended up is a phrasal verb, right? That's why we should use a gerund right after this phrasal verb. Or he gave up smoking last year. Gave up is a phrasal verb. That's why we should use a gerund right after it. He gave up smoking last year. That's great. And now let's see when to use infinitives. We should also use infinitives after certain verbs, but these verbs are different. Some verbs are followed by infinitives, often verbs that express wants, plans, or decisions. One more time. Some verbs are followed by infinitives, often verbs that express wants, plans, or decisions. For example, I hope to see you soon. So hope is a verb, and after this verb, we should use only, yes, you're right, infinitive, because this verb expresses our wants, right? I hope to see you soon. It means that I want it. I hope to see you soon. Or she wants to become a doctor. Wants to become. After the verb want, we should use an infinitive. That's why we say she wants to become a doctor. Or they decided to go home early. We should use after the verb decide an infinitive. That's why we say decided to go. Not decided going. No, it's going to be wrong. Decided to go. And here is the list of common verbs followed by infinitives. These verbs are want, need, decide, hope, plan, learn, agree, promise, expect, manage. After these verbs, we should use infinitives. Please record these verbs and memorize them. Also, infinitives are used to explain why something is done. So it means that they are used to express the purpose. Infinitives are used to explain why something is done. What's the reason? What's the purpose, right? So let's see. I went to the store to buy some groceries. Why did I go to the store? To buy some groceries, right? This is my purpose of going to the store. I went to the store. Why? To buy some groceries. Or she is studying hard to pass the exam. She is studying hard. Why? What is the purpose? To pass the exam. Also, we should use infinitives after adjectives. Infinitives are often used after adjectives. For example, it's easy to learn a new word every day. Easy is an adjective. After this adjective, we should use an infinitive, not a gerund. We cannot say it's easy learning a new word. No, it doesn't sound good. It's easy to learn a new word every day. Easy to learn. So we should use infinitives after adjectives. Or another example. He was happy to help his friend. He was happy to help his friend. Happy is an adjective. That's why we should use an infinitive after this adjective. Happy to help. Also, we should use infinitives after question words. Infinitives follow question words like how, what, where, when. For example, I don't know how to answer this question. So in this sentence, we have a question word how. After this question word, we should use an infinitive, not a gerund. We should say how to answer, not how answering. It's going to be wrong. So just remember it. How to answer. Or another example. Can you show me where to go? Again, we have a question word where in this sentence, right? And right after it, we should use an infinitive. To go. Where to go. It's an infinitive, not a gerund. Okay, and now let's review everything that we have just learned and compare gerunds versus infinitives. So first of all, we know that gerunds and infinitives are used after certain verbs, right? But what's the difference? The verbs are different, right? We use gerunds after verbs that express likes, dislikes, or preferences. For example, I enjoy swimming. Enjoy is the verb, and this verb expresses our likes, right? That's why we should use a gerund after it. I enjoy swimming. And we use infinitives after verbs that express wants, plans, or decisions. For example, I hope to see you soon. Hope is a verb that means what we want to do, right? I hope to see you soon. Also, gerunds are used after prepositions. For example, he is interested in learning new languages. In is a preposition. That's why we should use a gerund after it. In learning. But infinitives are used after adjectives. For example, it's easy to learn a new word every day. Easy is an adjective. That's why we should use an infinitive after it. Easy to learn. Also, gerunds are used after phrasal verbs. For example, they ended up canceling the event. So, ended up is a phrasal verb. That's why we should use a gerund after it. Ended up canceling. And infinitives are used after question words. For example, can you show me where to go? Where is a question word. That's why we should use an infinitive after it. Where to go. Also, infinitives are used to express purpose. For example, I went to the store to buy some groceries. What was the purpose? Why did I go there? To buy some groceries. Also, we know that both gerunds and infinitives can be used as the subject of a sentence. But how can I know when to use a gerund and when to use an infinitive as the subject of a sentence? Gerunds as subjects are commonly used. You can see in here it's written most common. In most cases, a gerund, which is a verb plus ing, is used as the subject of a sentence because it sounds more natural and flows better in everyday English. One more time. In most cases, a gerund is used as the subject of a sentence because it sounds more natural and flows better in everyday English. For example, reading helps improve vocabulary. In here, we used a gerund as a subject of the sentence, right? Because it sounds natural and we can use it in everyday English. Because it sounds natural and we can use it in everyday English. But infinitives can also be used as subjects of a sentence, but it's less common. While it's grammatically correct to use an infinitive as a subject, it often sounds more formal or abstract. Infinitives as subjects are usually found in written or formal English and are less common in spoken language. So we need to understand that it's grammatically correct to use infinitives as subjects, but it will sound more formal and abstract. Also, we can use infinitives as subject in written or formal English, not spoken English. For example, to read regularly improves your knowledge. One more time. To read regularly improves your knowledge. You can feel that in here it sounds more formal, right? Rather than reading helps improve your vocabulary. To read regularly improves your knowledge. It sounds formal and it's mostly used in written English. So let's clarify one more time. Gerunds are more natural and frequently used as subjects in everyday English. So let's clarify one more time. Gerunds are more natural and frequently used as subjects in everyday English. For example, swimming is fun. Infinitives can be used as subjects, but they tend to sound more formal and are often used in written or academic contexts. For example, to swim is good for your health. So let's compare. Swimming is fun and to swim is good for your health. Now you can see the difference, right? We learned that there are certain verbs in English that are followed specifically by gerunds and specifically by infinitives. So there are two different groups of these verbs. But we should also know that there are verbs that can be followed by either a gerund or an infinitive. But the meanings of these verbs will change. So with different meanings. For example, let's take a look at the verb remember. If we want to use a gerund after the verb remember, we should expect the following thing. So, refers to remembering something that happens in the past. It's going to be the meaning of the verb remember. One more time. Refers to remembering something that happened in the past. For example, I remember meeting her last year. I remember meeting her last year. So when we use a gerund after the verb remember, we refer to something that happened in the past. Next, if we want to use an infinitive, then we are going to have the following meaning of the verb to remember. Refers to remembering to do something in the future. For example, I remembered to lock the door. So I remembered to lock the door. In here, we refer to do something in the future, right? Remembered to lock in the future. The next verb is stop. If we want to use gerund after it, the meaning is going to be like this. Refers to stopping an action. For example, he stopped smoking last year. Stopped smoking, right? In here, we refer to stopping an action. But if we use an infinitive, the meaning is going to be like this. Refers to stopping something to do a new action. One more time. Refers to stopping something to do a new action. For example, he stopped to smoke during the break. So let's imagine he worked, right? He worked for a while and then he stopped to smoke. So he stopped working to do another action and to try. If we want to use a gerund after it, the meaning is going to be like this. Refers to trying something as an experiment. For example, she tried painting to relax. Tried painting to relax. It's her experiment, tried doing something. But if we want to use an infinitive, the meaning is going to be like this. Refers to making an effort to do something. For example, she tried to finish her work on time. So she made an effort. She tried to finish. So you can see that the meaning of the verb to try in these two sentences is different. That's why in the first case we use a gerund, and in the second case we use an infinitive. Also, there are verbs that can be followed by either a gerund or an infinitive, and their meanings won't change. So the meaning is going to be the same. You can use both a gerund and an infinitive after it. For example, like. I like swimming. Or you can say, I like to swim. Both are correct, and the meaning is the same. Nothing changed. I like swimming. I like to swim. Or begin. He began learning French, and he began to learn French. The meanings are the same. Nothing changed. So you can use either a gerund or an infinitive. Or start. They started working on the project. Or you can say they started to work on the project. Nothing changed. The meaning is the same. That's why you can use both a gerund and an infinitive after the verb to start. And now let's summarize. Gerunds function as nouns and are often used after certain verbs, prepositions, and phrasal verbs. But infinitives can be used to express purpose after certain verbs, adjectives, or question words. Some verbs can take both gerunds and infinitives, but their meaning may change. And now let's check our sentences. She enjoys to read books in her free time, or she enjoys reading books in her free time. Of course, she enjoys reading books in her free time. How about this one? He plans to visit his grandparents next weekend, or he plans visiting his grandparents next weekend. Of course, he plans to visit his grandparents next weekend. Great job! Thank you for learning English with me. If you enjoyed this lesson, please remember to like it, subscribe to my channel, and leave your comments below. And I'll see you in my next videos. See you soon. Take care.